Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Tuesday, May 21st Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. If you'd rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so we'll start off with a couple of things tonight. Number one, so everybody's clear here and everybody watching at home understands, it's been a little tough getting out of town lately, if you haven't noticed. So we're clear on our end. We were given no advance notice of this. Mitch has been in contact, as I know Sarah had as well, been in contact with Gloucester City officials. And we expressed our displeasure as to the inconvenience that it placed on everybody trying to get to work and coming home from work and everything. And we're kind of working through that now, but we weren't given any notification, and that really left a bad taste with us. But there's nothing we can do about it now. It's expected to go through, I think, until tomorrow afternoon or longer. I don't think that's about it. It said 2 days, but I think it's obviously going to be longer. The other thing is there will be no diving discussion tonight. So if anybody, I don't think anybody's here for diving. That's going to be postponed until I believe the next meeting, at least the next meeting. So, but that will be undertaken. So that will not be on tonight. With that said, we are going to move to the public comment period. Public comment? Eric?
Eric Hutchins, 45 Pools Lane. I'd like to just bring up a topic with you that I'd like to request is on a future agenda item, obviously not for any significant discussion this evening, but it's something that actually I think outdates all three of you, but it's been around that long. I was reading the Gloucester Times this weekend and happened to see an advertisement for some real estate, and I noticed a parcel at Cape Edge Beach off Seaview Street with a house for sale, and I see a boardwalk going across the salt marsh, and it just reminded me of an issue many years ago. And I mean, number of years, I've kept all my records on this. I have emails and my hard copy stuff. I've brought this to the attention of the Concom about all of the beach between Cape Edge Beach and those houses. That's town property. There are 5 or 6 boardwalks that cross town property over salt marsh that have, I believe, never been granted permission from the town, nor do any of them have a permit. And why it caught my eye is here's one for sale for $900,000, the house. I looked it up online, and online it's includes a pathway over to the beach, as though, so they're getting an economic asset for their sale of property of a structure that we have not addressed. It's not permitted, nor has the Board of Selectmen or the town given permission. I went down to just take a peek this morning when I looked at that one, and I drove by and there was another house for sale, and that one has a dock across it too. And their description when I looked it up online is, and this one's for sale for I think 1.2 million, and it sold for 700,000 just like 7 years ago. A meandering boardwalk brings you from your garden over the salt marsh to popples of white sands. Again, this is clearly a case of private taking of public assets. So then I walked down a little bit further, and there's a new pier that was built recently, pressure-treated wood, and no record with the Concom of a permit. So this is not getting better, it's actually getting worse, and it's now been a number of years. I think this needs to be addressed once and for all. And I do have all those records that you wouldn't have seen because I was bringing it up before any of you were on the Selectmen. It really needs to be addressed. We can't have people building structures on town property. Those even need Army Corps of Engineers and state permits. It's just a blatant violation, and it really makes us as a community look poor. Good. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I have any information that would help in this that you'd want, lots of it.
So I have a question.
Please, yeah, please go right ahead.
Mitch, can we get the town attorney to issue a notice to these property owners that they have to change their listing at a minimum?
Well, shouldn't we go to the
Conservation Commission? They were talking about it at a meeting I went to.
Yeah, but
also the
they're
building
listed.
inspector.
They're listed. And I think the listing at a minimum should not include this as a benefit to the property.
I will touch base with Neighbors Council to see if they can say.
Okay. Because, you know, if we then turn around and tell them at some point they have to remove the boardwalks, then there's, you know, and we didn't do
Well,
anything.
they're advertising at their own peril, and
Right.
but we do have to
But
be
we know about
proactive
it
on
now.
Well, we have to, right, it's of
Yeah.
course, but we have to be
Yeah.
proactive about it, and I understand that. Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Eric.
No, no
I mean,
problem.
We gotta deal with it at some point.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Tom?
Hi, Tom Meekus, 73 Marmion Way, and a member of the Ad hoc Water Committee. My anecdotal evidence is that very few people know about the water restrictions that go into effect this coming Monday. And examples are members of the Garden Club who say, oh gee, now that I know about it, I wouldn't have bought these plants that I just bought. My neighbor across the street just hydroseeded his lawn, and we asked him if he knew about it, and he said, no, but if he knew that, he would have waited till fall to do the hydroseeding. So our Ad hoc Water Committee is going to help DPW publicize. We're going out to the transfer station to hand out flyers on Saturday, but that's not a complete solution. I don't know if you're planning to have code red calls.
Well,
I don't
you
think-
did post it on Facebook.
It's been online, and I've
Yeah.
approved a code red call for Friday or Saturday.
Oh.
What about the signs?
I think they probably will also have the signs that they usually do.
We approved the new sign too, as well, didn't we, to add to a new unit to
Post
put?
July 1.
Post July 1, okay.
Okay, that should help. Thanks.
Good. Thanks, Tom. Toby?
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Concerns about water. Tonight you have the plans for Davis Park at Old Garden Beach before you, and I'm not sure what exactly they're proposing, but I remember earlier when they were applying for community preservation money, they were going to have in-ground watering systems. So the question is, and I don't doubt but what the Millbrook Meadow with all of their extravagant plantings would also be aiming in that direction. So do the town restrictions apply to those as well? Is the town of Rockport going to set a proper example, or are those people exempt?
Unless there's a well, or the commissioners grant an exemption, it applies to everyone.
Yeah,
Including town property?
yeah.
Good, excellent. Now, the other thing that occurred to me is that the Community Preservation Committee, Ruth will be familiar with this, takes its annual votes on the projects, whether they're going to approve them and for how much money, sometime in June. I believe they only meet once a month, and I'm not sure what day in June they're going to meet. Perhaps you know. But it occurs to me that since you're making an ongoing effort to meet with the various town committees, if there were one time in the year when it makes sense to meet with the Community Preservation Committee, it would be before they have the meeting when they decide on how they're going to allot the money. That would give you as a board an awareness of how they're planning or how they're considering to allot it. And what I'm asking is that you invite them here to one of your meetings, a joint meeting, and devote half an hour to a public showing of the projects, so that you will have a thorough awareness of it, and the public also would have an awareness. I've been to a few of their meetings, and typically nobody attends except the people who are asking for the money. So the public basically knows nothing about the projects until they're sprung upon them at the fall town meeting. So would you consider asking them in, and you'd have to decide to do it tonight, to your next meeting before they vote on the projects?
We'll take it under advisement.
Okay. Thank you. And I hope to comment on the coastal resiliency plans when you come to that. Would that be all right?
That's fine, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
Toby, the CPC meeting, I think, is Tuesday, the 18th of June.
So you'll be meeting before that?
We have the meeting of the 4th, which is pretty full already, but we'll have to look at it and see. They meet the same time we do on that night, so.
If you could just go to the mic, if you don't mind, just so we can hear you. No.
Richard Morris, Babcock Road. We met with the Beautification Committee 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they also brought up the fact that water use will be restricted. So that was part of the original plan. We have since, under their guidance, and probably the, excuse me, I've got a cold, but the Garden Club and the Beautification Committee suggested using plants that will not use that we don't have to water. We had plans to put in a few gardens along the path. We would, however, like to go along, clear some paths, because it's basically what it is now. It's just a lot of cat briar and bathrooms for divers. So we, at this point, are just looking to clear some paths, open some paths, and perhaps plant a few plants. I'm no gardener, but something that won't require watering on a regular basis.
And all that's part of the plan that's in there now, correct?
No, initially the plan was to have, as I guess Toby said, underground watering.
System, yeah.
That's
But the clearing and stuff like that, about how it's all
Oh,
gonna be laid
that's
out,
still-
that's what I'm talking about.
right. We
Right.
still have a commitment for that.
Good.
So that's
Yeah.
where we stand.
Good,
Okay.
thank you. Please.
My name's Stephanie Rossio, on 58 Beach Street.
So, before you get started, 1 second, I'm not sure if you were here. Are you here for the diving?
Just a quick question about it, not really to go
Okay, because
into
we're not gonna
I
take
know
it
you're
up
not
tonight.
tonight,
Okay,
no.
all right. Please.
My question was, when are you going to go into it?
I'm hoping, I'd like to see it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's going to be ready by then, because there's a lot of things that are going on with it as well.
Okay.
But if you have a comment, please, go right ahead.
Just a quick comment on it.
Sure.
There's been a lot of emails going back and forth, and I was kind of disturbed to find out in some of the emails that the DPW is meeting secretly with the scuba divers.
There's nothing,
Secret.
there's
So
nothing
it's-
secret about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are no meetings held in secret at all.
It just says, I would have thought with all my letters back and forth, that if the DPW was going to meet with the scuba divers, it says here that they're going to meet, the town has decided to have the dive owner shops meet in a small private group with the DPW to have a discussion before it heads back into the selectmen's meeting. This is from the scuba divers. I'm surprised that somebody like me wasn't asked or told about it.
Nothing has been said. Go ahead, Mitch, do you want to jump in?
If I may, Mr. Chair, so the DPW Assistant Director and the Chief of Police are reviewing the draft policy with several of the dive shop owners who've offered to provide some additional perspective that is not just people saying things. There's quite a bit of white noise floating out there on this particular issue. So there are several who've come forward and said, can we offer our input on something to help make it a better policy, things like that, by those who are carrying out that task. So the Assistant Director and the Chief are meeting with some individuals. The final decision and the discussion on the policy does come back to the selectmen.
Come
Of
back
course
to
it
us.
does, yeah. I was
And
just
I'm
surprised
sure-
that they would meet and not tell us something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that they're taking your concerns into account.
They have.
Yeah.
In
That,
this
that was the
policy.
basis of the
And why
policy.
didn't they even tell me that they were meeting, the DPW?
Because nothing's been set yet, and it's not a committee meeting, it's just an informal meeting of some department heads that are
Okay.
going on with this.
They have the input from the residents of Beach Street. We have
Right.
we have quite a bit of input that you've
Yeah,
sent
I
in
think we
already.
do, yeah.
We have
Absolutely.
none that's I would say overly constructive yet from those who are
From the
diving. So this is an
divers.
attempt to try to get some constructive feedback
Okay,
from some
all right.
divers.
I want to get along with them. They have as much right as we do here.
Absolutely.
I think we just got to,
Yeah.
we got to
Work
get
together.
along.
Yeah, work
We got to
together.
get along.
Yep,
That's
work
right.
together.
My son's a lawyer in California. He sent me a couple of little things. I just wanted to leave it with you. It's, Mom, this is what you should think about.
Okay.
There's copies.
Okay.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sepula. Mitch, this one for you.
Z. Seppala, 92 Granite Street. Last night, the Sandy Bay Historical Society sponsored one of their monthly informative historical sessions, and they brought in 3 high school students who recited on what they had studied about local history. It was quite an interesting program. It was held in the Brenner Room of the library, and I just mentioned that they had microphones that were like clipped to their collars, and for once in a town public meeting, every single word that everybody said into the microphone was clearly audible. And I just alert you to this so that in case you ever go to other meetings and can't hear the people, as sometimes I can't, you know of the fact that there are really decent microphone systems available. I don't know how much they cost, but Sandy Bay Historical, I think it's Buddy Woods would know.
Thank you. All right, anybody else for public comment? Nope. Let's move on to the interview of Kerry O'Donnell as a member of the Historic District Commission. Is there a motion?
I move to nominate Kerry O'Donnell as a member of the Historical District Commission for a term to expire on June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Kerry? Please. You can, whatever you'd like, if you want to sit, or if you'd like to go to the mic, whatever you'd like. This should only take about an hour or so, don't worry.
Well, I'm delighted to be on the commission. I've moved back to town after 50 years, about 3 years ago, and it's been great to be back. I'm at a historic house, although it's not in the district. It's on 5 Norwood, and it's the house that Caleb Norwood built for his granddaughter when she got married. Yeah. And I've gotten involved in the town. I'm with the garden club, with Town Gardens, and also the tour. I've joined the Art Association as an artist member. And I have always been involved with town activities. In Brookline, I was an elected town meeting member. They have to elect, because there's so many people, they take 15 people from each precinct. So I did that for 20 years, and now I come to yours, or ours.
Glad to have you.
I was also on the Art Commission in Brookline, so I'm familiar with committee work and so forth. I'm not a contractor, and I did have an antique house in Brookline also, which was a Richardson that we restored. I lived on a street that was actually designated a national landmark street. So I'm familiar with a lot of these processes and definitions, and hope to come up to speed with the individual projects that come to the commission. But I'm very impressed by the commission. I think that they really try to help people.
Yeah. They work hard.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that
Very
spirit of
helpful.
trying to help people that live here. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what's going on now? What would you like to see happen? Do you have anything in mind for you particular that you'd like to see advanced or changed?
I'm concerned about, demolition by decay. I see that in a few places in the historic district, and it's troubling. Once they go, they go, and it's hard to get them back. I know that there is that you can rule against that, and I know Brookline had that, but I don't think the Rockport does.
No.
Yeah, I think that might be worth looking into. I don't know.
Sure. Great. Any other questions from the board?
Have you been to any meetings? Oh, I'm sorry.
She has.
Go ahead.
Have you been to any meetings?
I've been to 3.
Okay. So you know what you're getting into.
I do.
Welcome back to town, Kerry.
Thank you, Ruth.
That's great. That's great.
Class
Wha-
of 67?
Yeah.
I saw the name and I'm like, know her?
I got to help run the reunion when I came back.
Oh, wonderful.
Just in time.
Yeah. Wonderful. Welcome back to town. Great to have you jump right in and be on a committee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's great. So what will happen now is we won't vote on your addition tonight. It'll be next week at the next meeting.
Okay.
You don't have to be here for that. You can if you want. It's fascinating to be here. I get it, but that's up to you on whether you want to come or not. Okay? But thank you so much for stepping up.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Welcome back.
We need to close this out, and you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. We don't have
Eileen.
Eileen tonight. I
No.
know.
Nope.
Jeez, I'm just looking over here. We have a little void over
Do you
there
want to
now.
do the next one? It's Dawn, so.
Perfect.
Sure.
Let's go with the street performers interviews.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
If you could please hold the motion until the end. I don't see all three individuals here.
Want to wait?
If you could, yes.
Absolutely. Let's do the easy one. We'll go to the approval of minutes for May 7th.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the minutes of May 7th, 2019.
Seconded.
Motion been made and seconded. Any additions, subtractions, revisions?
Nope.
Anything at all? Everything
Nope,
looked
they
good
look
on my
fine.
end, I saw it. We're okay?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. And let's go with, well, you might as well jump into our stuff now. We'll go with selectmen and town administrator updates and liaison reports. We'll start with you, Mitch.
Mr. Chair, I will pass for the moment, other than to say it was a wonderful motif one day, but I know the board has other items, so I'll defer to the board this evening.
That's okay, thank you. Ladies first. Ruthie?
I did a private meeting with a resident down about some Long Beach concerns, and I think that went well. I haven't had any other liaison meetings this week. I have Board of Health after this meeting at 7, and DPW Commissioners tomorrow night at 7, so it's been a quiet week for me.
Likewise, a quiet week. I also had a meeting with a private resident about Long Beach. And we just, earlier this evening, had our final meeting of the town administrator search committee. And that's been my week.
What do we pick?
The fellow
Glad
with
to
the red
have you.
shirt.
Right? Keep you in suspense. That's a great thing. Anything else?
Nope.
Great. So I had a planning board meeting that I went to the other night, and I had a meeting with the chief of police the other day about some things. One thing about the planning board meeting that I went to, I was a little concerned because of the tone of the meeting and the way things went on and the way the chairman conducted it, with having a problem with listening to input from other committee members. I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail on it, but it was called out by one of the other board members, and it was noticed, and I would hope that they would recognize, the chairman would recognize, that it is in the best interest of everybody in town to conduct the meeting orderly and professionally, and I would hope it would stay that way. So with that said, some of the things that they were talking about were the transit-oriented development that's scheduled for a whistle stop, and one of the things they're talking about is potentially an overlay district down there. But it was brought up by Jason Shaw that the overlay district may be a bit excessive and not necessary, where some bylaw changes could accomplish the same thing without being so intrusive. So we can take a scalpel rather than a sword to it and go from there. So that was good news, and I think Jason had some great ideas on that. My meeting with the chief of police, it was actually threefold. It was about divers. We sat and we talked about that, and seeing what's going to happen and go forward, and there'll be plenty of time for public input and all that. So and the chief had a big stack on his desk, so everything's been received and he's read it all. I can promise you that, and taken it to heart. So he's very on top of things. The other thing is, one thing I noticed, there's been a lot of animals lately. I'm not talking about dogs. I'm talking about coyotes. I'm talking about fox especially. And it was a concern for me because, fox are beautiful. I love seeing them. Coyotes are fun to see when they come through, but they're still wild animals, and you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's rabid and who's not. So he's going to actually look into it and see if there's something that we can do. I don't know what that solution would be. I don't know if, I'm not even going to speculate on what the possible remedies are, but I have a video actually that I sent to him. I went to Granite Pier about 2 weeks ago, and as I drove down the ramp of Granite Pier, there were two fox sitting right in the middle of the road.
Playing, yeah.
And it was at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it concerns me because I don't want to see anybody get hurt. And that was my concern, and John shared that concern, and he's going to look into it with environmental police or who have you, that can maybe find a way to address it.
So before anything is done, like when they shot the turkey, when was that, last year? I would hope we'd have a chance to talk about it.
Of course.
Okay,
Of
yeah.
course. Of course.
I don't think that was necessarily the
There was no-
direction all of us would have wanted to see.
No, this was just,
Yeah.
a concern that was brought
Yep.
up that
Yep.
I took it to John, and then he's gonna further that
Sure.
and go from
Yeah.
there.
And 2 years ago, and I think they did an update last year, at Gloucester City Hall, they had the environmental police, and they had all the state
Educational
people, a
session-
big
session. Yeah.
educational session, very well attended, and I think it quelled a lot of fears in Gloucester. We probably need to have something like that here
Yeah.
to talk about it, because it was fox, it was coyote, and, you know, I work over in the back shore, and every single morning I see 3 come down all together. I can hear their little babies out in the woods and back of the house. And, you know, unfortunately, we've encroached on their land, and they're pushing towards us. That's how it is, and you can't shoot any of them. It's illegal, so, in Massachusetts, so.
Yeah, no, there'll be no bandoleros and shotguns just yet,
Well,
so we're gonna.
that is
Good to
what was
know.
offered in Gloucester.
Right, well, that's
People
that's
stood up and
Gloucester.
offered to get
And
a
as we know,
permit to shoot.
Gloucester doesn't always get it right,
Right,
and
yeah,
parking,
so- But it would be
traffic.
good to have a nice educational session.
And I
I think
think
that's
that,
a
I mean,
good idea.
I was driving, I was with my wife probably about 2 weeks ago. It was an early morning drive, and we were coming down by the Baptist Museum. There were 5 deer in the field.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, they're beautiful. Love
Yep.
to see them, but it's just we're densely populated. So that's that. The other one was on the topic of drug-related incidents and things like that. I just wanted to. I felt like, from what I've been hearing, what I've seen, and some of the reports that have come out through the police, and it doesn't seem like it's elevated just yet, but it's a concern, and I don't want to see it get to the point where it is a problem. And one of the things that John talked about was, if it comes through the police, obviously there's a reporting mechanism, but it doesn't always flow through the police because people are afraid of getting arrested and they don't want to do that. So we talked about ways to more define if there is a problem by talking to the hospitals, to seeing if people are going in, and of course with complete deference to HIPAA laws. But trying to do it, and he liked that idea, and we're going to see if there's something we can do just to make sure we don't have a major problem going on in town. Or a problem. Let me take the word major out. So those were the things, and then again, I talked about divers. So that's what I had for my 3 topics that I talked about with the chief, and that's it. You good?
Mr. Chairman,
Can I just a point of clarification,
Sure.
if I may, on the transit-oriented development? Just so people listening understand, it's not scheduled, it's an idea that doesn't have a developer, doesn't have funding, so it's something that is a concept at this point in time. It's not scheduled to happen.
And they're meeting with MAPC, and they're going through
Right.
all of the
Right.
the steps that they have to forward it and see where it's going to go. And I think, you know, you talk about being involved in the process and having input on things, and people get a chance to speak. Now is the time. So if anybody has something to say or wants to know anything more about it, please go to the planning board meetings and state your opinions, because it's on almost every agenda that they have. So it would be, and if not, you can speak in a public comment. Good. All set?
Mr. Chair, so I think we've given a reasonable amount of time. I believe 2 out of the 3 of the street performers are here. I would say the board could
Yep.
proceed with those 2 and just, we'll hold off on Mr. Eaton. I think we've given him enough time to arrive at this point.
You want me to do this one?
Do we have a motion on this? Is that up for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, please, go right ahead.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve and sign street performer licenses for Juliana Da Silva and Madeline Downs, subject to successful query results.
Motion's been made and seconded. Before we start, 1 second, that I forgot the most fascinating part of the evening. I have to read the warrants. I apologize, this is formality, but I have to do it. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant number 45 totaling $570,086.33. An expense warrant number 45 totaling $1,355,345.77 on May 8th, 2019. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant number 46 totaling $131,260.23. An expense warrant number 46 totaling $134,117.72 on May 14th, 2019. Selectman Campbell signed the payroll warrant number 46A totaling $0. An expense warrant number 46A totaling $1,364.14 on May 15th, 2019. Selectman Campbell signed payroll warrant number 47 totaling $576,547.21. and expense warrant number 47 totaling $199,267.83 on May 21st, 2019. Thank you. My apologies. Juliana? Please.
You didn't bring your guitar?
Oh, that's great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're going to do, where you plan on doing it?
Okay, I'm Juliana. I love music. I am hoping to street perform this summer. I want to play guitar and sing original and covered songs. I'd like to play really anywhere. Yeah.
What kind of music do you like?
Pop, rock.
What are some of your favorites? What can we expect to hear when you're down there?
A little George Ezra, a little Taylor Swift.
Nice. Very good. Very nice. And I see you're gonna have some amplification.
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. And you'll be Dock Square, Bearskin Neck, Donovan's Corner, any time of the day before June 16th and August 26th. Good.
Okay.
Great.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Nope. Everybody
Welcome.
good? Yeah. Welcome and thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck.
That's great. Madeline Downs.
Hi, my name is Madeline. I'm going to be playing violin and juggling on Bearskin Neck, probably mostly around Donovan's Corner, but if someone else is there, then either at the end of the neck or Dock Square.
So just to be clear, not at the same time.
No.
No.
Really empty.
I would be impressed.
Yeah.
I think that's a great combination. That's fun.
Wow.
That's a lot of fun. Will you be amplified at all, or is it
No,
just?
I won't.
It's just the.
Just acoustic violin.
Yep. Very
That's
nice.
fantastic.
And do you play classical music, or what do you play?
A variety. It'll probably be mostly classical, romantic, or baroque, and then maybe some, because most of the music I play usually has to be like, most of the music I'm playing is public domain, so I'm trying to like move more into that.
But do you play like fiddle music or?
Yeah, there will be some of that too.
Yeah. Cool.
Great.
That's great.
Fantastic.
There's going to be a great ambiance downtown
Yeah.
this year. I think it's going to
Fun.
be fantastic.
So many performances this year will be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. That's great. All right, good. So, and Thomas Eaton just
Mr. Eaton's not here?
didn't
So
come.
we'll,
So we're going to
defer.
vote on just the two, correct?
Correct.
All right. Do we need to revise the motion? I don't think so, correct? Did we
No, I
just-
didn't read his name.
We just read those two. Okay. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion?
None.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Have fun, both of you. Thank you so much.
We'll look
Thank
for
you.
you.
We'll come listen.
And we'll move on to the action list. Let's go with the appointment of Thatcher and Straight Smith Island Keepers. Is there a motion?
I move that the board appoint David Cohen as a Thatcher and Straitsmith Island keeper for the 2019 season, subject to a successful query check.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Anything we need to know about this? This is fairly straightforward.
None. I think it was just
Right.
left off the list.
Perfect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Let's go to the Long Beach Seawall Phase 2 Concrete Sidewalk Removal Project Contract.
I'll read that one. I move that the board approve and sign the contract agreement with MJS Construction, Inc., 25 Popes Lane, Danvers, Massachusetts, for the Long Beach Seawall Phase 2 Concrete Sidewalk Project in the amount of $74,745.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. This is just it's on the both ends of Long Beach to pull up the sidewalk and fix whatever's there so we can shore it up, pin it, whatever we need to do. This is money that's already been allotted and everything is accounted for. Anything you want to add, Mitch?
That's exactly it. So this will make the walkway consistent
All the way
along
across.
seawall now.
And it will all be permeable now.
Right.
I believe
The
that is the
crushed
case.
stone
Yep,
and
I think
stuff.
everything will be
Yeah.
the crushed stone and then
Yeah.
stone dust on top.
Right.
So that,
Yep.
the intent of that is to
Get rid
kind
of the concrete.
get rid of the concrete and soften the barrier and allow for permeability behind the wall so that it's not kind of forced from behind as well as from the ocean.
Also, it's a great opportunity to assess what's going on there, so you
Yeah.
can, rather than
Right.
using sonar equipment, you can see what's actually happening there, so that's a good thing. Okay, any further discussion on this? Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries 3-0. Let's go to the approval of planting and maintenance plans for Davis Park. Is there a motion?
There is. Excuse me, I move that the selectmen approve the planting and maintenance plans for Davis Park as per selectmen's policy, use of town-owned property, policy number 20-07, and as reviewed by the Director of Public Works and the Beautification Committee.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Obviously, there was a concern about water that came up, but maybe Stu's here. You want to talk about this, Stu?
We
If-
talked about the erosion.
If you could just go up to the stand there, I'd appreciate it.
Hi, my name's Stu Mellon, president of the Old Garden Beach Association. We've talked quite a bit about the erosion issue, and we've modified our plan to include native grass planting right along the coastal boundary. The native grass grows quickly, and it prevents erosion. It was very successful in the Old Garden Beach landing area. So the Davis Park area is a little bit further upland, up gradient, so we would expect to have success with that. So we discussed with, in depth with the beautification committee, our total plan, modified plan with the native grasses that was submitted. That worked very well, and it's been planted 5-6 years over at Old Garden Beach and has provided a really good barrier. It grew very quickly, very little watering, and it's very stable. And that was part of the erosion control mandate in the order of conditions through the Concom approval for the Japanese knotweed removal that was done 3 or 4 years ago. And it was very successful. So that the knotweed is almost gone. If you go into the parking lot at Old Garden Beach, it's straight ahead. The knotweed used to grow up 6 feet. Was all pulled out, native grasses planted, and the native grasses have taken there very well. There's been no erosion, and that was mandated by Concom. So we expect that approach to do well with Davis Park as well.
What do you think as far as talking about the water restrictions that are coming up? Do you see a problem with, I mean, are we going to be able to control this? If you have the weather we've had lately, you're not going to have to worry
We're
about
not
it.
gonna have a
Yeah.
So that's going to...
We don't want to put in mass plantings and put them at risk if we don't have access to the drip irrigation system. That's what we're going to lose. There are other activities that we can complete in the park, including pathway construction, which was part of the plan. If we can complete the pathways this year, the big part of the plan was providing access for maintenance throughout the park through the lower areas. So if we can complete the construction and the clearing of the pathways, it will be the stone pack, the white stone pack that's currently used in the Blueberry Grove, permeable. We expect that would be it would match what's currently there, and we could use the CPC funds that have been approved this year. And that wouldn't take any planting. And then next year, hopefully, the filters will be repaired at the water treatment plant. We'll have access to the underground
so.
irrigation system. And that's only a temporary underground irrigation system. That's only supposed to be for 3 years until the plantings take root, and then the irrigation system would be removed. It's only 9 inches below grade, the irrigation system.
Good. Yeah, please.
So I think there still remains some concern about the embankment and erosion, and I know we were chatting about this earlier, Mitch, that whose responsibility is that? Is that the DPW?
So the issue with the embankment, DPW would be responsible for doing that, and the director and the assistant director have indicated that they are aware there's work that does need to be done separate from this project to ensure that there's not a problem.
Sure. I just, FYI, I attended a coastal erosion workshop with a couple members of the Conservation Commission and Jerry Falco maybe about a month ago. And one of the methods that they talked about was different kinds of support systems for the native plants, almost like a grid made out of different kinds of materials that you kind of put into the ground, and it serves as an anchor so that even with the plants, it just gives an additional way to hold the ground in place. It might be worth talking to Jerry about that, if you have extra money from the CPC, to see if that's something that might be worthwhile.
Okay.
Especially when it's new and there's not going to be a lot of water
Definitely.
to support them. It might be worth looking into.
Okay,
And Jerry has all the info from that session because she was there too.
okay. I'll follow through with Jerry.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you to you and all the work that the association does down there.
No problem.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you.
That's good. Okay, so you've heard the motion, seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. That's the final blessing.
I hope so.
That's it. Let's move on to the outdoor display renewal, Kaya's Craft.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve and sign an outdoor display permit renewal for Kayla's Craft at 21 Bearskin Neck for the 2019 season.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this one?
No, we saw
Nope.
pictures.
Yep, we saw
Everything's
pictures. They look
good?
fine.
And we haven't had any problems with any of this in the past? Everything's fine? We're moving right? Perfect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Let's go with the acceptance of a gift from Leica Geosystems, Inc.
I move, I keep forgetting that.
That's okay, take them, that's all
I
right.
move that the selectmen accept an annual donation of $1,000 from Lyco Geosystems, Inc. to be used for the STEM program at the Rockport Public Schools.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded, and what this is these are access points, if you will, or like, kind of like not a cell tower, but along those lines, that provides GIS with better mapping facilities for the town. And are these are just at the school, correct?
Yep.
And but there's no need to have these at any other points in town? It's just a central location?
Correct.
Okay. And we derive the benefit from that, along with having more accurate and updated maps, as well as a nice donation of $1,000 to the town. Any other discussion on this one?
No.
Perfect.
Oh, actually, one question.
Yeah, sure, go
Is
ahead.
this an annual donation?
It
So
is.
every year?
Every year.
Great.
Annual
Okay.
donation. That's great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. We're trucking right along here. The CATOC Seasonal Park and Ride Contract.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve and sign a contract with the Cape Ann Transportation Operating Company to provide Rockport shuttle services for the 2019 season.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded, and this is just the standard contract that we do every year with them. There really are no changes to this. It's kind of run-of-the-mill business.
Yep.
And that's it. Further discussion? Comments?
None.
No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. Let's do the year-end transfers.
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve and ask that the chairperson to sign the following year-end transfers. $3,500 from town accountant's salary to ambulance billing services. $12,398.93 from sewer enterprise electricity to labor reserve sewer. $1,500 from permanent intermittent to police electricity. $800 from permanent intermittent to police fuel oil. $2,400 from permanent intermittent to police employee training. $3,500 from permanent intermittent to police motor vehicles. $1,500 from patrol officer wages to police office supplies. And $1,000 from patrol officer wages to police facility maintenance. $700 from patrol officer wages to police computer account, and $4,000 patrol officer wages to police fuel for vehicles. And last but not least, $3,300 from permanent intermittent to police medical.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. We're good. Those are all fine to make. That's not a
Absolutely.
problem, right? Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure of it. Good. Any further discussion on this one?
None.
There we go. Nice and easy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0. And that was fast. Now let's go on to the discussion items, climate resiliency. Denise, I have a feeling you have something to do with this.
Yes. So I would like to see us form a task force responsible for formulating kind of an overview of everything that the town is doing in the with respect to climate resiliency. So we have sort of things going on at Long Beach. We have things going on at Old Garden Beach. We have, the municipal vulnerability preparedness grants. We have one-off things going on here and there. And I think for us to really get a sense of what we need to be doing as a town, what our priorities should be, how to allocate limited resources, what are the opportunities out there for grants that we should be taking advantage of, that we need a task force to kind of keep their fingers on everything that's going on, and make sure that we're focusing on this specifically as an issue. And so I'm suggesting that we formulate this task force, that we look for, I'd love to be a part of it, but look for members of the community who would like to participate and bring their own concerns and wisdom and experience to the group, and help to formulate a plan for the town so that we're going at this in a planful manner. So that's my thought.
Does any of this mesh with green community? I mean, would that be a combination of the two?
Green communities is more about finding ways to improve energy efficiency.
I get it.
Yeah, so possibly.
But just because you have a committee that's already formed, and I don't know if you could.
But they have a different charge, and it's very specific under the law.
They do. Tom,
Yeah.
you're still green community, correct?
Yeah.
How often do you guys meet?
We're scheduled to meet twice a month. Sometimes it varies. We're starting to branch out a little bit into helping consumers, residents and businesses save energy as well as the municipal energy, but we haven't broadened beyond that.
It's not about climate resiliency.
No, that's what we call adaptation versus mitigation
Right.
of climate change.
Right.
I just think of the term green as all encompassing. So.
Yeah. Now, didn't Bruce Tower talk about a climate resiliency task force that is along the coast from New Hampshire, Maine, through Massachusetts, and it would sort of be like a spin-off of that, but our local one, and get information from them that would be specific to our area.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what sparked this idea with me, is hearing about this, finding out that some members of the town go to it. We didn't know anything about it.
I know Rosemary, the harbor
And
masters
sometimes Joe
go,
goes.
and sometimes Joe, but.
And it just seemed like, it's kind of scattershot. We don't have a focused, organized approach, and I think we need one.
Yeah.
There are
agree.
grants coming out from the state, the municipal vulnerability grants. They're talking about another bond this year. I just want to make sure that we're doing this in a thoughtful manner.
Right.
So what specific items did you have in mind? Like what, because climate resiliency is a very broad term.
Right. So didn't I write something up, Mitch? But I don't
And
see
I
it
think,
here.
and I think before Toby had asked about the vulnerability study, and that we need to get it out to the public. So that would sort of be a nice kickoff for it to say, this is what
Well, we've already won one of the grants. We've
Right.
already made it through the first step.
Right.
But this is not just municipal vulnerability. It's also helping to assess, look at the town.
Yep.
We're spending a lot of money on Long Beach, and I'm not arguing with that.
Yep.
But what about Bearskin Neck?
Right.
That's also vulnerable. What about other areas
Yep.
of town that are vulnerable? And how do we look at the entire town?
Right. And the other thing too, us from DPW Board of Commissioners, that we've talked about constantly about the Dock Square Pump Station.
Right.
And all of those low-lying areas
Yep.
that once the tide comes in and gets higher and higher, they're all going to be underwater and they're not going to be functioning correctly.
And
So
the
that would
other
be
cons-
in
right.
that too.
The other concern I have is with the watershed. And, I mean, are we doing enough to make sure that we're focusing from a climate resiliency point of view of
Yep.
protecting the watershed? So those are just, I'd want the task force to form, kind of come up with a charge from the Board of Selectmen. So this is just an initial foray to get us talking about this.
I think it's a great idea.
But I think, if we're more focused and organized, we're more likely to get something done.
Yep.
Okay. Toby?
And I expect you disagree, Toby.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. You remember I made unkind remarks about the municipal vulnerability study. That was an effort sponsored by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
It's the state. It's a state grant.
Yes. Was a final report on that, ever given to your board?
I don't think that it is final.
I don't know that I've seen a final document.
Yeah.
Well, I was given something that Joe Parisi told me was a final report that most certainly was not. I believe it was a report of the all-day meeting that they had for various town officials. And at that, it was incoherent. But I ran into Sam Cleaves, and this would have been around Thanksgiving at the Market Basket, and cornered him, and he said that a part of that process would be a public presentation of the report.
Right.
So, well, that hasn't happened, and I asked him if he would be available for that, and he didn't sound enthusiastic, but he said he could be. And it seems to me that in good faith, if we've taken state money, we ought to get something, very definite, and the public ought to be appraised of it. So I would hope that you would follow up on that, and we would get a public report. I think the idea of a task force to overlook the town's various efforts is a good one. I'm a bit leery and suspicious about Joe Parisi and the harbor masters attending these meetings. Certainly it's public spirited of them to take their time to do so. I wonder what representation they make on behalf of the town, because certainly your board nor anyone else has authorized them to make commitments, and on the other hand, we don't seem to get reports back here. Have you got reports from them on what they've heard specifically at those meetings?
I haven't.
No, Toby, but that's the point.
Indeed, that
Right.
would be part of the point.
Right.
To go on, you mentioned, Bearskin Neck being vulnerable. Large swaths of the town are vulnerable, and at the time that I'm losing it. The federal agency that controls all of the insurance and the ratings for the flood maps, FEMA. At the time that FEMA redid the maps, there was a hue and cry about the accuracy or lack of it of the maps, and the town went after them and got Bearskin Neck, the Main Street, and Long Beach redesignated, taken out. It's called formally a letter of map revision. And it cost the town, I believe, $75,000 to do that. If you do it privately, you can get the money reimbursed if they say yes to you. It seemed to me at the time that was fortunate and also favoritism for the people in those areas, leaving the other people in town to fend for themselves. But my basic concern about the maps is that they're not fair or accurate. They came up with the maps by
Okay,
running
let's wrap it up, Toby.
two sets of data through the computers. One was the bathymetry, that's the seabed, and the other was a wave study from California.
Thank you.
So the maps are worthless, and it's a tall order to ask you that you really need to go after the FEMA people and ask them to redo the maps, all of them.
So with respect to the Climate Resiliency Task Force, am I to understand you and I are in violent agreement, Toby?
Perhaps.
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad I'm sitting down.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes,
a quick note from on a previous speaker's remark about the areas that were selected. The areas were selected by the consultant that the town retained based on the best likelihood of getting LOMRs approved. So those were the areas that they felt that were reasonable for us to move forward with, so we did.
Perfect. Good. Eric, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just real brief. Eric Hutchins, 45 Pools Lane. I've certainly been following resiliency issues in Rockport and Gloucester for a couple decades now. And I totally agree that one thing that's missing is just a little bit more transparency to the public overall. I find this over and over again that whether it's a permit being issued over here or DPW doing something over there, cumulatively, we're not, as a community, paying attention to the much bigger issue. You've heard me talk about Penzance, the bigger issues at Long Beach. We're never going to let Bearskin Neck go, but we haven't actually had enough community-wide discussion.
Yeah.
We will be losing things, and we need to be discussing it on a broader, more transparent scale, rather than when they just pop up, we're kind of just whack the mold, make it go away. So I think the idea of some, whether it's a task force or some mechanism to kind of be a little, because it's not going to go away. This is not a task force that ends. This
Right.
will only continue and grow. Thank
So,
you.
are you volunteering? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we'll see what it turns into when
Okay.
the charges.
Yeah,
Thanks, Eric.
thank you.
Oh, you're assigned.
Yeah.
You're assigned to it.
Perfect. All right, you want to, anything else you want to add to
No,
it?
no, that's it.
Good, I think it's a good idea. I think we need to obviously look in that direction. It's something that's going to affect us all, so I think it's a good idea.
Thanks, Don.
Good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
One other comment on this, because climate resiliency is a lot of the work that I do. I advise students all around the country now who call me up and consultants. If there's one thing I tell people looking for work in my field of work, whether they're engineers, fluvial geomorphologists, etc., is coastal resiliency is the future. There are piles of money just
I know.
pouring in everywhere, and Rockport is absolutely not. They're taking advantage of it in some ways, but it's there. We should be better prepared to take advantage, because we will be impacted, and the more we're prepared, the more we can take advantage of the planning and implementation funds that are out there.
I mean, to that point, one of the things I want us to look into is getting a consultant from the Netherlands to come and kind of assess, our situation. I mean, they're the experts. They're the global experts, right? So what can we learn from them?
I'll be with water resource people from the Netherlands next week in
Oh,
Plymouth.
Perfect. Ask them.
Yeah.
See if they'll do a little pro bono work while they're here.
Come on up, come on up to
The
the other
North Shore
Cape.
is much nicer.
Come on up to the other Cape.
There we go. All right, good. Anything else to add?
No.
Good. Unanticipated business or announcements? Anybody have anything?
Sure.
Go.
We had our final meeting of the Town Administrative Search Committee today, and we finalized a contract with our new town administrator, Mitch Vieira.
No longer interim.
He hasn't been interim for a couple of weeks now. And I moved to close the Town Administrative Search Committee because we've completed our task, and we have, we're giving the secretary the minutes to be published, and we're opening them up to the public. for
And all
executives.
minutes that you had for these meetings, everything was voted on tonight,
Yep.
Yes.
released, everything's
Yep,
done.
as
I sent
everything's,
them all to
There's
Debbie.
nothing else.
yep, they've been released. There were 4 meetings.
Yep.
Perfect.
Just to further clarify, subject to the appropriate redactions for privacy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I
Yes.
did a
Just so
first
that
pass
the
at that.
Yes.
larger
Yep.
public
Yes.
hears
Yes.
that, yes.
Yep,
But please take a look and make
take a
sure.
look at them. Yeah.
Well, I'm good. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that the public looked in
Right.
case
Right.
they chose to ask. There
Oh,
will be
yes.
some areas that are redacted.
We removed
Yes.
the names of the applicants.
Yes.
Just to protect their privacy.
Yes.
So do we need to dissolve this committee officially? Is that what we're doing now? Because she made a motion on it.
We would,
so I'm gonna-
Because we
if
made a
the board
motion.
wants to
put
take
it-
an action this evening on it, we'll put it back on the June 4th meeting
Okay.
to take an
Okay.
official vote on the action list.
Okay.
Okay.
But if it's the board's consensus, I'll move ahead and place that on your next agenda.
Okay.
Yep, okay,
Great.
fine.
So we don't have to vote on anything tonight. That's fine.
Okay.
That's good. And thank you to you both for what you
Thanks,
did on
Don.
that. That's
You're
great.
welcome. Pleasure.
Your candidate was a little suspect, but that's okay.
Well, you know,
Thanks, Mitch. We're glad to have
Great
you.
We're
thank you.
thrilled.
My
Glad to
true
have you.
appreciation for the board. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else?
No.
That's it. We ripped through this one tonight. Sarah probably could have stayed for this one. She would have been okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay.